newly appointed head of a Nevada commission to investigate state spending says he has done nothing wrong and will not resign.
So far, Governor Jim Gibbons is standing by his man. Allegations were first reported on Friday by the Channel 8 I-team after a high-ranking Nevada Republican sent a private letter to the governor demanding the resignation of Bruce James from a state commission. George Knapp is here with the latest on all this, George.
Dave and Paula, the controversy at this point is a he said dispute between two prominent and wealthy Nevada Republicans, men who don't like each other very much. But it has spilled over onto the White House and the governor's office as well. Late last week, in a story you first heard here on Eyewitness News, former head of Nevada Republican Party, John Mason, raised an unsettling allegation in a private communication to the governor. Both the accuser and the accused are vowing to unload on the other. It all stems from an incident almost 5 years and 3,000 miles away.
We have roughly 240,000 government.
Self-made millionaire Bruce James ran for the U.S. Senate in 1998, but backed out to make way for John Enson's run. 4 years later, James was appointed by President Bush to head up the government printing office in Washington. Not long after taking that job, James reportedly had dinner with the daughter of John Mason. Mason is a former Supreme Court candidate who spent 5 years as head of Nevada's Republican Party. He reportedly asked James to keep an eye on his 20-something daughter who had moved to D.C. to attend George Washington University. Mason alleges that Bruce James was way out of line after the dinner in question, although exact details about what did or did not happen that night have not been made public. Based on conversations with several Republican operatives, it appears Mason was genuinely upset by whatever happened during the dinner because he told several people about his concerns. Among those who were told face-to-face 5 years ago were Congressman, now Governor Jim Gibbons, Governor Kenny Gwynn, and Senator John Ensign. The I-team has learned that a third party who spoke with Mason contacted the highest levels of the White House, concerned that the incident might become an embarrassment for President Bush. White House counsel Alberto Gonzalez, who later became Attorney General, contacted Bruce James to find out what had occurred. The I-team's John Ralston confirms that Senator John Ensign also informed the White House after he spoke to Mason. Last week, while traveling out of the country, Mason learned that Governor Gibbons had appointed Bruce James to head up the SAGE Commission, which will evaluate the state's budget. Mason was enraged. He emailed Governor Gibbons through a third party and vowed to unleash, quote, skeletons from the closet unless Bruce James resigned from the commission. Mason has alleged to friends that he has proof that James acknowledged doing something wrong back in 2003. However, Governor Gibbons' office says James will not be asked to resign. The governor recalls hearing something about the alleged incident years ago, but it did not come up during discussions about appointing James to head the SAGE Commission. Bruce James told the I-team that Mason's allegation is a complete fabrication. He says he spoke with Alberto Gonzalez, told him the allegation was spurious, and never heard about it again until now. James says he has no intention of resigning from the SAGE Commission. We spoke with John Mason over the weekend. He didn't want to talk about the story until he hears back from the governor. One source close to Mason told the I-team today the deadline for the governor to act on the Bruce James appointment was 5 o'clock today. Mason told us if the Governor Gibbons does not act, then a detailed public statement from Mason will follow. And like everyone else, we're now waiting to see, since that deadline passed a couple of minutes ago, what's going to happen. The reality is only Bruce James and Mason's daughter know for sure what happened that night. I'm joined by my I-team colleague, John Ralston, who worked on trying to nail this thing down. The one thing we know for sure is we don't know if any of this is true or how much of it's true.
What we do know, though, I mean, we know you showed that Bruce James says it's a complete fabrication. On the other hand, why would John Mason 5 years ago, former state chairman of the party, have gone to the lengths that he did to tell people he went and met with then Congressman Jim Gibbons? He went and talked to John Ensign. He told other people. You mentioned someone actually told the highest levels of the White House. And you have the attorney, the former White House counsel became Attorney General, actually calling Bruce James, who told me today, yes, Gonzalez called him. He told him there was nothing to it. He never heard anything again. Why now? This is an amazing thing, George. You have these two Republicans squabbling and pressure being put on the governor as if he doesn't have enough problems.
Well, because he's had a lot of problems with his appointments, specifically stuff like this. And in this case, he says basically
I forgot about being told about this.
Which is kind of strange, because I have confirmed that that Mason actually met with Congressman Gibbons back then, and he talked to him about it. He actually talked to him about it. So Gibbons clearly had to have remembered this. This is the kind of story, when you tell something like this, you remember it even if it's 5 years later. The question is now, what is John Mason going to do? Because all this stuff is going on sub rosa. He either comes up with something, and what can he come up with? That's the question.
Well, and you're on top of it.
I'll be after it too.
All right, thanks, John. Back to you.
Okay.
Thanks, gentlemen.
Thanks.
With rising